Bias in decision making. Why we do not always think as rationally as we believe. Every day, people make decisions, both small and large. From choosing what to eat to making important career or financial choices, decision making is a constant part of life. Most people like to believe that their decisions are logical, careful, and based on facts. However, psychology shows that this is not always the case. Human thinking is often influenced by hidden patterns and shortcuts that can lead to errors. These patterns are known as biases, and they play a major role in how decisions are made. The study of these biases became widely known through the work of Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, who showed that human judgment is not always perfectly rational. Bias in decision-making refers to the tendency to think in certain ways that can lead to systematic errors. These biases often come from mental shortcuts, also known as heuristics, which help people make quick decisions without carefully analyzing every detail. While these shortcuts can be useful in saving time and effort, they can also lead to inaccurate judgments and poor decisions. One of the most common types of bias is confirmation bias. This occurs when people look for information that supports their existing beliefs and ignore information that challenges them. For example, a person who believes that a particular business idea will succeed may focus only on positive feedback and overlook warnings or risks. This can lead to overconfidence and poor planning. Another important bias is anchoring bias. This happens when people rely too heavily on the first piece of information they receive when making a decision. For instance, if a person sees a product initially priced very high, they may judge all later prices in comparison to that first value, even if it is unrealistic. This bias is often used in marketing and negotiations to influence how people perceive value. The availability bias is also very common. This occurs when people judge how likely something is based on how easily they can remember examples. For example, if a person frequently hears about crimes on the news, they may believe that crime rates are higher than they actually are. This shows how recent experiences and memory can shape perception rather than actual data. Emotions also play a powerful role in decision-making. People do not always make choices based on logic alone. Feelings such as fear, excitement, anger, or stress can influence decisions in significant ways. For example, a person who is feeling anxious may avoid taking risks even when those risks could lead to positive outcomes. Similarly, someone who is overly excited may make impulsive decisions without considering the consequences. Another well-known bias is overconfidence bias. This occurs when individuals believe they are more knowledgeable or capable than they really are. Overconfidence can lead to risky decisions, such as investing money without proper research or underestimating challenges in a project. While confidence can be beneficial, too much of it can result in serious mistakes. The framing effect is another example of how bias works. It shows that the way information is presented can influence decisions. For instance, people are more likely to choose an option described as having a high success rate rather than one described as having a small chance of failure, even though both statements describe the same situation. This demonstrates how language and presentation can shape perception and choice. There is also a bias known as loss aversion, where people tend to prefer avoiding losses rather than gaining equivalent rewards. For example, losing a small amount of money often feels more painful than the pleasure of gaining the same amount. This can lead people to make overly cautious decisions or avoid opportunities that involve risk. Bias can also affect group decision-making. In group settings, individuals may be influenced by the opinions of others, sometimes leading to a lack of independent thinking. People may agree with the majority to avoid conflict, even if they have doubts. This can result in poor decisions, especially when critical thinking is not encouraged. Understanding bias is important because it helps individuals become more aware of their thinking patterns. By recognizing these biases, people can take steps to reduce their influence. For example, they can seek out different perspectives, question their assumptions, and take time to evaluate information more carefully. Although it is not possible to eliminate bias completely, awareness can significantly improve decision-making. Bias plays a role in many areas of life. In education, it can affect how students judge their abilities and how teachers assess performance. In business, it can influence hiring decisions, marketing strategies, and financial planning. In relationships, bias can shape how people interpret the actions and intentions of others, sometimes leading to misunderstandings or conflict. The study of bias has also contributed to the field of behavioral economics, which explores how psychological factors influence economic decisions. Researchers in this field have shown that people do not always act in their best interest and that biases can lead to unexpected outcomes in markets and financial systems. In simple terms, bias in decision-making shows that human thinking is not perfect. Our brains are designed to simplify complex information, but this simplification can sometimes lead to errors. Instead of viewing this as a weakness, it can be seen as a natural part of how the mind works. The key is to understand these patterns and learn how to manage them. In conclusion, bias in decision-making is a powerful force that shapes how people think, judge, and act. It influences everyday choices as well as major life decisions. By understanding different types of biases and how they operate, individuals can become more mindful and make better decisions. This awareness can lead to improved problem solving, stronger relationships, and more effective outcomes in many areas of life. If you found this explanation helpful and engaging, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more easy to understand and insightful content on psychology and social sciences.